the left loses, they're never going to accept it. They're going to riot this time. It's going to be crazy. We actually accepted it.
Well, not only have I said that. Hang on, Luke. Hang on. Not only have I said that, I also said.
Come on, hang on. Like 2 seconds.
You challenged.
Progressive YouTuber Luke Beasley was a guest on Piers Morgan Uncensored for a panel debate. In this part of the panel, Luke Beasley and Piers Morgan discuss the differences between how Democrats accept losing an election versus how MAGA and Republicans accept or do not accept losing an election. So they're going to take a look at clips of Luke Beasley on Piers Morgan show. I will share my thoughts as well. Let's check this out together.
Amala, it feels to me, I mean, just this dancing alone that is going on all over America and the lack of mass protests feels very, very different to when Trump won last time. Are you sensing that?
Yes, 100%. And I think a lot of it has to do with the rhetoric that's been surrounding Trump. And I think this collective realization that we no longer have to be fearful of supporting this man, and we can actually be excited about his second term. You know, prior to this 2024 election, he's been called a fascist, a dictator on day one, an authoritarian. He's been likened to Hitler. And I think that created an environment where a lot of people felt like they had to sort of speak in hushed tones about their support of Donald Trump. Some of the exit polling on election day found that young men in particular were more likely than any other demographic to sort of hide or lie about who they were supporting for president. And now that we've gone through this election cycle, the veil is lifted a little bit. People are coming out and they're dancing. They're talking about what this future could look like over the next 4 years. And I don't think they feel as afraid to speak up about these things. Even the media is going and speaking to Donald Trump. And these are publications that would have recently referred to him as Hitler or a fascist. So I think the tables are...
Now, the conservative here, Amala, talks about Donald Trump being a dictator on day one as if that's something that progressives or the left or Democrats or whoever made up. That's something that Donald Trump said himself, that he would be a dictator the first day and for only one day. So that's not something that progressives came up with.
They're turning a little bit.
Well, they're even heading down there to kiss the ring, which I never thought I'd see from some of the MSNBC anchors. I mean, Luke Beasley, are you joining in the dancing? Are you secretly bopping away there to Young Man by Village People?
Absolutely not. I think
you've got to laugh at that. I mean, before I let you go, before you start, you have to laugh at the irony that the guy that everyone on the left calls the biggest bigot in America chose the #1 gay anthem as the one he would dance to on stage. I mean, come on.
Is it any surprise that the guy who wears makeup and self-tanner and spends all kinds of time making his hair look the way he wants it to and wouldn't wear a mask because it would have smudged his makeup during the pandemic is the guy that picks a song that is iconic in the gay community? I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying.
It's funny.
Heartwarming. So here's what I wish some of you would engage with, which I haven't heard. After Biden won, the MAGA side at large, Trump himself, didn't accept. I haven't heard you, Piers, say, wow, it's so impressive that whenever our side loses, even though a lot of MAGA folks are saying, if the left loses, they're never going to accept it. They're going to riot this time. It's going to be crazy. We actually accepted it.
Well, not only have I said that. Hang on, Luke. Hang on. Not only have I said that, I also said.
Come on, hang on. Like 2 seconds.
You challenged me. I'm going to respond to that one point, which is actually, I said to Trump's face, I thought it was disgraceful he didn't accept the election result. All right, and I did say that the Democrats deserve credit for the peaceful transfer. So you're completely wrong about that.
No, that during better Piers times you did do that, but I'm talking about just
better Piers
a general
times.
understanding.
You mean when you agreed with me?
I wish the MAGA side would do introspection and go, wow, it's not that the left is going, oh, we just love Trump now. It's that we're demonstrating to you what acting like an adult looks like and not lying about the election, not crying for years and years about it, and instead going, even though we still believe Trump has these fascistic tendencies, I still believe he's a threat to our democracy. I'm going to show you what caring about democracy looks like. That's what Biden has done.
Let me respond.
That's what Kamala Harris has done.
Let me respond.
Go for it.
When you say you're not crying about it, you might not be. But all I've seen in the last 2 weeks are people, women in particular, all over TikTok, screaming, cutting their hair off, saying they're never going to have sex with the Trump voter again. And now there's a mass exodus from X because Elon Musk owns it and he's next to Trump. from people like Bette Midler, Barbara Streisand.
And yes, Piers Morgan is right. People have left different platforms. You have a lot of people leaving Twitter/X to go over to Blue Sky. The same thing happened with right-wingers. You know, most of the right-wing platforms are no longer around, or nobody talks about them other than Truth Social. But a lot of people left Facebook because they thought it was too liberal, or Instagram, or any of the other social media platforms, or Twitter before Elon Musk took it over, to go with most of these now defunct right-wing social media platforms. So there's really no difference. Now, the big difference, as Luke Beasley says here, is the politicians accepted the election results. So Kamala Harris has accepted the results. She's not going out whining about it. When Hillary Clinton lost, she conceded the next day. She didn't spend the next 4 days going all over media and on social media and anywhere else that she could talk about how it was stolen from her and the election was rigged and all of this kind of stuff. But Donald Trump did that. And also Donald Trump's followers tried to overthrow the election violently. Now, Piers Morgan talks about there haven't been any protests in the wake of Donald Trump losing. Well, in 2016, we didn't really see protests until Inauguration Day. And we had the mass women's marches around the country, which were peaceful. They were nothing like January 6th, this insurrection attempt. So we could see some protests when the inauguration maybe happens, but I doubt they will be violent like the MAGA protests were.
Don Lemon, you name it, off go the lefties. So I'm afraid there is a massive amount of toys out of the stroller going on. So, you know, you can say all you like. You say all you like what great losers you are. All I've seen is a lot of squealing and resigning from platforms because they lost.
You're doing a huge disservice to your audience, putting on the same discussion, trying to overthrow an election, putting together fake electors to prevent the peaceful transfer of power, trying to get local officials to find fraudulent votes that don't exist. You're putting that on in the same category as people just being upset, like has happened every time people lose, always, in a way that's completely peaceful. And I've gone through this before on this show specifically, which is you have to look at people in positions of power to really get a sense of the significant responses we're seeing to certain things. So when you look at powerful Democrats, I told you before, Vice President Harris, Biden with character and integrity respected these results, whereas Trump, him being the person in a position of power, not some random person on TikTok, didn't do that.
I agree. Listen, you know what, Luke? I agree with you. I totally agree with you on that. So, you know.
So it's a rare instance where you're going to see Piers Morgan actually agree with a progressive on his show instead of just trying to talk over them and berate them and make fun of them and all the other things that he does. Also, we have, in terms of accepting the election, you have MAGA, who are not just sore losers, they're also sore winners. I did a video yesterday on my channel about this. Luke Beasley was involved with this one as well, with Marjorie Taylor Greene crying about how the media is saying things that she doesn't like about Trump's cabinet picks, his horrible cabinet picks, like not Luke, but Matt Gaetz, who's already dropped out because he was so toxic that probably wouldn't have gotten confirmed. And then people like Pete Hegseth, I mean, these just vile people. But Marjorie Taylor Greene is complaining because the media is against them, or Democrats maybe aren't going to work with them in terms of getting them confirmed. And so she's talking about how it's going to be a war against the Democrats and all of this insane stuff. So even when they win, they can't accept winning. MAGA, that is, and the MAGA politicians like Marjorie Taylor Greene. So as Luke Beasley pointed out on Piers Morgan's show here, there's no comparison between Democrats when they lose and these MAGA Republicans, who are just mainstream Republicans at this point, when they lose an election based on 2020 when they tried to overthrow the government, which Democrats have not done. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments regarding Luke Beasley with this appearance on Piers Morgan show, or anything else that you want to comment on. Make sure to give me a like and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed yet, I'm closing in on 50,000 subscribers. And if you like what I'm doing here with this content, if you subscribe, that could help me to continue to grow the channel. This is Chris on Culture. I will see you in the next video.